So here are the standards written in kid-friendly language from our last meeting, and what I'd like you to do is take a look at them so that we know if we've missed anything. The first page is demonstrate a general understanding of literary text and the standards that we wrote, and the second page is develop an interpretation of literary text and the standards that we wrote.
Okay. As I look over this, I see that our next unit should include determining character traits by what a character says through narration and dialogue. Do you guys think we need to add any other ways a character is developed?
You know, I think at this point, since it says just narration and dialogue, that's what we need to stick to and not make it too much and too overwhelming at this point.
I disagree. I think that they have to be able to determine character traits by what the character says in narration and dialogue. I think that we need to add a basic understanding of the ways that a character is developed in our demonstrate general understanding unit. So that if they don't understand, we can catch them, put them into interventions before we ask them to interpret. You think so?
Yeah, that does make sense.
Okay, then what I'm going to do is add characterization. I know how a character is developed through their actions, what they...
Reactions?
Their reactions,
What they say,
what they say,
How they think or feel?
yeah,
how they think or feel.
and then what others say about them.
Okay.
So I can see that looking at the two learning targets that we hear, there's a lot of overlap. And I'm wondering if we want to make two tests or if we want to just keep it together as one.
I think we should do just one test because, you know, the skills build on each other and it's kind of hard to isolate the concepts.
I disagree. I think we need two separate tests. I think we need one that's just demonstrate a general understanding of literary text. And that way, if kids aren't getting these skills, we can get them into intervention so that we're sure that they get it before we ask them to develop an interpretation of the literary text. I'd really like to split them up and write two separate unit tests.
Right.
That does make sense. It would be very difficult to try to create one whole test that has both the standards in it. It would be overwhelming.
Okay, perfect. So then what we need to do now is write our test.
Okay. So what about, let's look at some of the sample questions from ODE.
You know, I think along with that, we should also look at the reading classroom work samples, the format and the type of prompts that are used.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, I think I pulled some, and here is state test sample questions, and I also pulled some reading performance assessment sample questions of literary text that we can take a look at.
Okay. All right, ladies, so what do you think we want to do? Do we want to write questions based on literature books that we already use, novels, short stories, or several short passages that we might find?
But, you know, I don't even think we need to do that. I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel when we've got the actual 6th grade leveled passages right here. We could just simply use these.
I think we should use the passages, but we really need to make sure that the test questions that we write match our learning targets that we wrote.
Okay. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so there's 3 reading passages here. Why don't each of us read a reading passage and start to write questions, like the sample questions and the reading classroom work sample questions, and then we'll be done. If we all do one, we'll be done.
All right, well, once again, I really don't want to do this by myself. I think there's strength in numbers.
I agree. I really think that we work well together and it would go a lot smoother if we just kept it together.
All right, then let's start with the first passage. Let's start with the one with the great catch. We just have to make sure that when we're writing the questions, some are multiple choice, like the practice test, and some are like the reading work sample questions that are more open-ended.
Okay. Well, guys, as I'm reading, these words look really tough and not too kid-friendly, so do you think we need to retype the passage to make it more accessible to the kids?
No, I really don't think so. This is a 6th grade level reading passage, and on their testing, this is what they're going to have to do, so I don't think we should try to change it in any way.
Well, what if we, rather than substituting a whole new word in the text, what if we just made a footnote with a synonym of the word so that they could still be able to read and understand some of those more difficult words?
Sounds great. It's a great idea.
Good idea.
Okay. All right, now that our test is all ready to go, we got to start doing our unit planning and some lesson planning so the kids will be really successful at this. We have characterization, point of view, and conflict still to plan for. And I'm assuming we're going to want to plan all together because we've been doing really well today. Which one do we want to start with?
Shall we start with point of view?
Yeah, that sounds good. I have the I do, you do, we do unit planner so we can get started.
Perfect.
For each learning target, the team collaborates together to create scaffolded and differentiated lessons that work toward the learning targets. Each learning target includes a short common formative assessment so the teachers know if the students are learning the material or if interventions or modifications are needed.
All right, so we have our assessment ready to go. We have our little units that match our assessment ready to go. And we really need to give it this test, though, as a pre-test in the next couple weeks. We meet on the 20th. Will you have time in the next 2 weeks to go ahead and give this as a pre-assessment?
Yeah, I think we should be able to do that.
Okay. Then we'll bring it back on the 20th and take a look at our student strengths and some areas that we might need to add to in our unit and go from there.
I think we'll get some good information from this.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
looks good. Perfect.